this way or you can go that way because you're completely like you're totally in view. What's that? Well, I struggle every week to do it, and now you're even closer than usual. So you got to
further than usual, not closer than
usual. Okay, you can come and run it. I won't bother.
Going down?
No.
I haven't read your thing. You haven't? I haven't. That's it. That's it. I should have put it on my camera. Yeah, I can do it.
Okay, sure. Sir? Oh, not Jeffro Toll. How about T-Rex?
What about Uriah?
T-Rex. Banging up. What's it called?
What about ZZ Top? Your boys.
Very good. Very good choice. I saw them.
Told me you were at Woodstock in '69.
No, my brother was. I was at an ashram. Microphone is the microphone? They came on stage with a buffalo and a longhorn steer. But after 20 minutes they left. But they had Blue Oyster Cult, which was amazing. Amazing.
Now I know why you went into microbiology.
It's apparent. Yeah. When the moon's in seventh house, and Jupiter allies with Mars,
It's the age of Mashiach.
Yeah.
So this evening we're learning the Malchus of the Rabbi, Parshas, Eikev, which was the same kriyas as we have this year. It was Kof Gimel Menachemo Toshin Nun Aleph, when the Rabbi said the Sikha. And the learning is taking place in the Beis Knesses, the Tzemach Tzedek, the Ira Kodesh, Ira Tika Tsfat, and this evening is Kof Beis Menachemo, early on she Toshin Ayin Tet. So, as has been our practice in the last few weeks, we'll deal with the earlier part of the Sikha relatively quickly or even closely, and then we'll try to refer in more detail inside Mamish to the latter part, because we've already learned a couple of times already the beginning part. So we saw that the river started off with the Hacharaza, the announcement that Chodesh Elul is Chodesh HaCheshbon. Brought down in the great Sforim, the Avodrom and other Sforim, they bring down that Chodesh Elul, being as it is the Chodesh Lifnei, the Din B'Cheshbon of Rosh Hashanah, and afterwards Yom Kippurim, it's the Chodesh of Hachona to the Yomei HaDin Melamayla, and that's what we call the Chodesh of Cheshbon. And the Kavanah being to make a Cheshbon HaNefesh of all the Aveda that he did during the year, in order to prepare himself fully for the Yemei Adin on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. However, the Rebbe said we need to understand that in its own right, what is the toichan, the content of the Cheshbon Nefesh, and in what does it busy itself? What are we supposed to be concentrating on and placing emphasis and dealing within ourselves when we're making the Cheshbon Nefesh, and also exactly what is are we comparing what we should have done, Gabi, what is the main aim of the Aveda? What should we really aiming for? And the Rebbe said the fact that every year Chodesh Elul is 2 days according to the calendar that we have. Every year Chodesh Elul is 2 days. And especially this year, that the first day is on Shabbos Kodesh, and the second day is on Yom Rishon, on the first day of the weekdays. And we must say that there's some importance, and due to the Hashgacha Pratis, that must teach us something. The Rebbe began with a whole amazing Pia in the pasuk in Shir Hashirim, which are brought down in the great Tzfat that we mentioned before, that is a remez b'derech Rosh Hashanah to the Inyan of Chodesh Elul, and that's the pasuk Ani Ladoidi V'Doidi Li, but that's a Rosh Hashanah Elul, and so it must be hidden in those words, Ani Ladoidi, V'Doidi Li, the whole secret of the Aveda of Elul. So the Rebbe said that the ultimate purpose of the Eibishter in the creation of the world is that so-called man should do his own Aveda. Hashem could have, and in a way he does, create the whole world whereby we're in his hands, and to a certain extent we don't really do anything. But the truth is that he wants that it should, but Galui appear to the man, I hope on him, that he is required to do something. And that effort, Melamata Lamaila, well, that's hinted in the words Ani Ladoidi. And that's the beginning of the pasuk. Ani Ladoidi is the beginning of the whole thing. And so the Rebbe said it also begins with the Aleph. And it's well known that Aleph is like the first letter of the Aleph base, and that's like the lead-in. That's indicatory that this is the Aleph of the whole Veda of a man. That it should be Ani Ladoidi. In other words, the fact that Elul being Cheshbon HaNefesh, and Elul being such a general month, that it's a preparation for such a general time, then hidden in what is the Veda of Elul is really the tachlis of a whole Veda of a man. What is he really all about? And therefore the ultimate purpose of the Eibishter in the creation was Ani Ladoidi, that the mensch should make a start from himself and work upwards towards the Eberstadt. And there's the whole Taklis of Avodah Hashem, and that's the Aleph. That's the beginning of everything. That's Anila L'Doidi. And then afterwards, we're Zeicha to Doide Because you can't have Ella unless you have the other half of the pasuk, Doidi Li. And Doidi Li indicates the Yamshotam Melamayla Lamata, as it were, Hashem helping us and assisting us, and Hashem granting us a whole divine assistance and a divine impetus in our avodah. If we don't make the avodah ani l'doidim elamata l'mayla, then we're not going to be zeicher to that v'doidi li. And so therefore, the Rabbi said we could say even more. We could say that since the whole avodah or Adam is that so he has to make the effort, and everything is really he's like the center of the whole creation, and the ultimate purpose of dira v'taktoinim v'chulu is through the Adam. It's not Hashem could make everything, but He wants it should come through the Adam. So therefore, we have to say that the two pieces of the pasuk, ani l'doidi v'doidi li, are both of them we find him in Avodas Hashem. And even the doidi li is to a certain extent part of the Avodas Hashem. In other words, even the doidi li is really Avodas Adam. And so, what is the pshat of it? It's well known, brought down in Lakuti Torah, that in order to make any effort, you can't do anything unless you have the help of a Kodesh Baruch. Anything, you have to have the help of a Kodesh. So, in order to begin Ani L'Doidi, you have to have a certain divine assistant. And that is the Indian of the Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim, that are Meir, especially in El. Like the Alter Rebbe tells us in Lakuti Torah, that the whole year we have Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim. Every day in Tachanam we say the Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim. The speciality of the Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim in El are to give you the prayer that you should start off your Aveda, even from Ani L'Doidi, where you should take over after that divine impetus, which is hidden, but it's very much there. That's the whole thing of Milah B'Sodeh. The Kodesh Baruch he's there in a way that he's helping you. Well, that's not the main concern of this seeker, but that is there in order that you should start off with Ani L'Doidi. And then, since everything is now coming from you, and you are the center, even the Doidi Li is also your Avodah. So how does that make any sense? So the answer is that a Yid is made up of two main, influences or factors that they interact one with the other. And that is Neshama V'Guf. And the Guf is awful, Mina Adoma. The Guf is Mamish Oilam Agashmi, and as it were, the whole inyan of all the world and the whole physical world centers in and around the Guf of the Adam. And therefore, the Aveda of Adam is very, very significant to the whole world. And the Rebbe brings even to Gmoiz at a certain point how the Avodah Vayir affects the whole world to a certain extent. It's written in the Gemara or in the Mishnah in Masechta Sanhedrin that why was the man created on his own? To a certain extent that the whole world is dependent on him. Even though the Mishnah gives different ways of explaining that. It indicates to us that every Yochid, and the Alter Rebbe in Perek Mem Aleph in Tanya explains to us that at Barichas, that every year the whole Malchus of Shemayim depends on him and is waiting for him. when you make your effort, you're having an effect on the whole world. So that's the inyan of your part of it, Be'ika, Ani Ladoidi. Now we're saying that the Doidi Li is also your Aveda. So how does that fit together? And that's because you got inside the group, you got your Neshama. And the Neshama is a Chelik Elaka Me'mail. The Neshama is a direct portion of the Eibashah. Of Amela, the Neshama is the koyach of a yid that he has to be beyond the creation. Mitzad his guf, he's part of the creation. And so when he elevates himself, he's also elevating and having an effect on the offer of the world. Although his Neshama is Melchatchila over and beyond and above the world. It's Chelach Elakai, and that's the inyan of the Eibashter, how he is beyond the whole inyan of the world, appearing in the body of a yid. So that when a yid serves mitzad nishmasai, he doesn't go with a Saida Masuda, slav after slav in the Olam HaGashmi. No, he goes lechatchila, as it were, with all the shlemas with one go. Yeah, and so the Rebbe said that's the inyan of Shabbos. Shabbos is like that. A yid is required on Shabbos to cut off from the whole Sheshes Yamoyachol, and he sees himself as Kol Malachto Yasuya. When you come into Shabbos, you've finished every connection with the weekday, and you start all over a whole new inyan of Lechatchila, Ariba, and that indicates that you're beyond the normal Seder of the world. And that's the inyan of Doidi Li, the inyan of going beyond the Seder of working Slav after Slav, Melamata Maila, with your group. And you come with your Neshama, Melchatchila, Riba, Melamaila, Lamata, but that's your Rabbi. You've got to stand yourself for him, because then Hashem helps you. Then he gives you a certain Eizer. So the pocket doesn't go out of its simple meaning. That's also Hashem helping you. But he only helps you if you do your part with your neshama, and you, as it were, put yourself in his place. Then Hashem comes in as mashlim. And so we find a dogma of this sort of thing in the Avodah. So the Rebbe says, you're not like that on Shabbos, just as soon as Shabbos goes out to forget about it altogether. There's also a union, and we're going to see more about that as we go along. There's a union of both of the unionim together, which means that you take over after Shabbos into the weekdays, or this very high and lechatchila level that you had on Shabbos. And you live in a different way. You come back into the Seder HaMasura of having to do with the difficulties of the world, with all the koyach that you gained from Shabbos. And therefore we find a very interesting machlokes in the Gemara Masechta Beitza between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. And the interesting thing is that the Alter Rebbe brings both of them. He brings in Shulchan Aruch both of them, and he seems to praise both of these ideas. And l'chera, that's a machlokes, so only one side is the actual halacha, it would seem. But nonetheless, the Alter Rebbe brings both of the opinions, and he's not so clear stated as to what is the halacha in Shulchan Aruch. Well, that tends to indicate that both of them have a place. And so it's written about Shammai Azogin that whenever he saw, let's say on Sunday, he saw a beautiful calf or something very good, he would say, oh, that's good, I'm going to keep that for Shabbos. I'm putting it away, especially for Shabbos. And if he went past a day or two and he saw another calf that was even better, he said, oh yeah, I'll maybe swallow that one for now for the weekdays, and I'll keep the better one for Shabbos. In other words, he was the whole time, he was living with Shabbos, and he was preparing and it was literally into the elevated state of Shabbos, the whole week. Mashing in Hillel said, Baruch Hashem Yom Yom. He said, I every day, I have a separate betochen in Hashem, and He's going to give whatever I need. So when I get the Erev Shabbos, He will give me what I need for Shabbos. I don't have to the whole week be, well, the whole time as it were, preparing for Shabbos. When I get close to Shabbos, Hashem will give me what I need for Shabbos. So the Rebbe says, in a way, that's also living with the Shabbos, but it's a different sort of way. So therefore, the Alter Rebbe brings both of them, because in a way, both of them have a certain inning, because he also thought about Shabbos, but he said, my betoken is so great that when I'm holding by Shabbos, Hashem will give me whatever I need. He didn't the whole time, take action in that regard, but he was aware of the whole idea of Shabbos. Beis Shammai took practical action. He was the whole time openly preparing, so he lived, as it were, with the infant Shabbos. So the Lefi Zekuntois, that living with Shabbos, even in the weekdays, is a kavanah, and that's how it should be. However, the Rebbe said that the Ika Avodah of a Yid in this world is the Anila Doidi, the first part of it, not the Doidili, not Mitzad the Neshama, nor the struggle to go upwards with the Afam, with the Guf, to offer and to work stuff, and therefore we count the days of the week, also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it goes with a whole Seder, and that's the union of time, counting time. However, once we get past Shabbos, instead of saying this is the 8th day and this is the 9th day, we go back to this is the first day. We start it back again, like at the beginning of creation. But otherwise, we should be holding by the, I don't know how many million days have been since creation.
2.1 million days.
That's very good. Thank you.
2.1 million.
Thank you, my son. I've been informed of 2.1 million. I haven't got the faintest idea, sir. So I'm not as informed, so I'm not prepared to differ with it if I don't know. My hand went up for it.
Thank you, Raymond.
Multiply 577 by
Of course.
Anyway, whatever. That's not the way we do it. No, once we go past Shabbos, we go back and we start off from 1 again. So that's a simon that on Shabbos, you are oily into a madrega l'mayla mi'azman. You get beyond time altogether. However, the Rebbe said, the fact that you get l'mayla mi'azman, you're not completely and utterly l'mayla mi'azman, because it's also the 7th day. It's like Hashloma to the 6 days of the week, but it goes up and elevates itself beyond the demands of time, so that when we start over again on Sunday, we start all over from the beginning again. So the Rebbe brings that that's the Avodah of the Neshama. The Avodah of the Neshama is Melmayla Lamata, that I've gone up beyond time and I've gone beyond place, so I'm not busy anymore with the immediate demands of going Shlava. I've gone up into a complete different world. And so the Rebbe brings a very fascinating opinion. He doesn't mention it here, but he brings in the Sikha that there's certain great, like the Rokeyach and other people, that they write, other Rishonim, that they write that in Emerson, before the Eibishter created the world, there was also Shabbos. In other words, time is a creation, it's part of the name of the Magid, and so. So the whole Seder of time leads us to Shabbos, and Shabbos goes on Malam Yasman, to say that there was a Shabbos before the creation, Avamela, the Rokeach, and these other great authorities, they write that the Shabbos had to be before the creation to give a power to Adam, also how he is an Neshama, to be able to elevate himself on Shabbos beyond the whole demands of time. Because in Emerson, it was all prepared for you. There was a Shabbos before the Bria, and that gives into your Neshama the way it is. And therefore, Shabbos is a different way altogether. It's a different type of way. That's the two like extremities. Ani Ladoidi is going in the physical and the dust of your body and that, elevating it, and that goes with a Seder, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's the days of the week. Yeah, and then we get to Shabbos, which is albeit part of that, because that's the 7th, but then it goes up into a level completely beyond, and that's the Neshama. How the Neshama is Melachatchila Lamaila Merguf altogether, and sometimes it's demanded of a Yid that that's the way he served the Eivishter. In other words, that Shabbos gives us a queer that we can be beyond the world, even though the demand of Dira B'Taktonim requires us to go Melamata Lamaila, but the queer of Shabbos gives us the power that wherever necessary, a Yid is able to be beyond and Lamaila Mizeh. So it just occurred to me that the Rebbe doesn't bring it, but it just occurred to me that perhaps we could say that there's a machlekes in the Gemara. It's brought down in Shulchan Aruch, in the Alter of Shulchan Aruch. That what about a person who's going in the desert and he forgets which day is, what day of the week it is? So since he forgot what is the day of the week, he's got a problem with Shabbat. He doesn't anymore know what day is Shabbat. So there's two opinions. One opinion says that you have to make Shabbat right away. You have to decide that where you are now, that day is Shabbat, and then you count 6 days after that. The other opinion says no, that you have to count 6 days from now and then make Shabbat. According to that opinion, that says first of all you have to make Shabbos and then count 6 days. Well, that's like the Veda of the Neshama. First of all, I put koiches beyond the simple limitations of the world, and then I go back into them with that koyach. However, if I say no, I got to count 6 days and then make Shabbos, then I'm going with the Seder Masuda of the way time was given to us and the way I have to work with the offer of the world and tell me. Okay, so that's where we're holding now. So it's on page 156. I want to just learn a little bit further. As I remember, last time we didn't get quite this far. So therefore he says, Ulam, Kishem Sha'ika, who avidos shall Yehudi, ani ladoiti. Yeah, the Eikev, Kavana, Vashem, like we said, and the Aleph is ani ladoiti. Yeah, but that's the Aveda of a Yid in his own prayer. And then he gets the Doidi Li, although like we pointed out, that Ezra from HaKadosh Baruch Hu is also only when he does it, when he reveals the Kerr of the Neshama. Kakam benagel l'shnei hagisha is b'aved Hashem. Eikev v'aschola yidavke b'kach she'odam oived es avidosa im haguf o'olam hazeh. Like we said, he's got to work with a whole effort to elevate the offer min aduma and elevate that and bring it close and make it a kli and to make the world in general, as we said, a kli lelakus. Mitzad neshama, like we said, is a chelik elakam himal, and that is considered Ezra HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but you really do it, but it's called Ezra HaKadosh Baruch Hu because beyond the world, it's not united with the world. V'lochein, mibein shnei ימי ראש חודש אלו, היום השני הוא היום העיקרי. The Rabbi said it's well known in the Chesbonus of the calendar that the Eikev Rosh Chodesh Elul is the second day, which is Sunday. Why? Because the first day, which is Shabbos, is still part of Chodesh Elul. So that's Lama the Menachemot. The Eikev beginning of Elul, Aleph Elul, is on Yom Rishon. So therefore, said the Rebbe, the second day of Rosh Chodesh, or that's the Eikev day, the Ilu Hayom Rishon Shal Rosh Chodesh, next Shabbat L'Chelik MeChodesh Or. The Kedei Lalamed Shedavke Hayom Hasheni Shal Rosh Chodesh Shechal V'Yom Rishon. Melamayla Lamata, Hu Eikev. Well, that's the Eikev. In other words, we want to go. I'm sorry, I think that's a misprint. It should be Melmata Lamayla, I think. When I saw it, that's what I thought. He said, on Yom Rishon, we said that's Melmata Lamayla. Hu Eikev. V'ilu Yom Aleph Shal Rosh Chodesh Shechal B'Shabbos. Yeah, that's Melmata Lamata. That's the Ezer Mitzad Neshama. And that's on Shabbat. Who wrecked over Noisar? Avamir Kumta is that the Eikev of the whole world, here the Rebbe is a very amazing sort of a deher, but towards the end he's going to modify that. And that is that if we look at a purely mitzvah judgment, then it would seem that if the Eikev of the Odom is darker the struggle with the body and ani l'doidi, and that is the Aleph, that's the beginning of everything. That is the Aveda, the Odom himself. As in Cain, it would follow Levisha that that's the Eikev of Rosh Chodesh Elul. And therefore, Yom Rishon, that's the Eikev day, and that's the Eikev Aveda, because that's Milmata Lamaila. Ve'ilo, the Indian of Shabbos, or that's Milmaila Lamata. Oh, Evamela, asked self the question, he came, as L'choela, the Seder is Hafur. L'choela, Ani L'doidi comes before Doidi Li. And here, the way the Rebbe's mapped it out, the Doidi Li, it comes before the Ani L'doidi, because Shabbat is the Doidi Li, that's the Neshama, and the Ani L'doidi is Yom Rishon, that's the Eikev. Al-Khara, they're not in the right Seder. First of all, we should add Ani L'doidi, and then we'd be Zayat to the Deity. So the Rebbe's got a big long footnote about that. And just because it's a very fascinating thing, I'll mention it. And that is that it's well known by Shemitah. If you ever look at the mitzvah of Shemitah in Parshas, that's when you come to Eretz Yisrael, V'shavta ha'oret Shabbos l'havaya. The pasuk says first that there'll be a Shabbos l'havaya, and then afterwards it's written Sheishes Yomen, what do you call it? Taser Maser, or not Sheishes, Sheishonim Tizras, yeah, or V'shona Hashviyas as the Shabbos l'havaya. So we see that Shabbos l'havaya only comes after. So why does the pasuk mention that first? There's many drushim in Likutei, the Alter Rebbe. It's a one-on deer. It's put down all over. So the Rebbe answers that just like over there, the answer that's given is that first of all there has to be an Shabbos l'havaya. You have to know and you have to be prepared within yourself for Shabbos l'havaya, and that gives you the koyach afterwards to carry out the Sheish Shonim, which is really the Eikev according to the Kavanah of the Eibush and the Seder HaRogim. Well, first of all, he started off with Shemitah, and then he goes back to the Sheish Shonim. So the first thing here, he starts off with Shabbos. Well, that's really L'mayla Mi Eikev Avayim. Oh, but that's like in a sinus koya. And that gives you the koya to go over to Yom Rishon and make the effort that you're supposed to make. Oh, but that's the Eikev. The Eikev that you should do it, that's the whole Eikev. That's the Chi Chashuv. Mele, Nimtzalapi, that we got two in Yonim, and the Ike is the Avedis Odom Milmatala Maila, and Nimtzalapi said that the Avedis on the Shoma and the perfection of being completely beyond adequate limitation and Lamaila, well, that's a Dovan Nosaf. The Ike is what you're supposed to be doing. After that, you come to what's called a further and additional thing. What the Fizek is that these two ways in Avodah are not united one with the other, but they're like two basically different approaches that just say that they have a smichas one to the other. That's what it comes out. Vashivalakar keep shooter. So the Rebbe said, why would it be like that? מכיוון שהקדוש ברוך הוא מעוניין שדווקא העולם הזה הגשמי יזדחק ויסעלה. The Abishah wants that the world should become a dear lawyer's bar. The actual physical world has to be changed and altered and made elevated. מובן שלשם כך יש צורך לא להלויס את העולם לפי היכולת שלו. אז אם כן, that indicates that we've got to come to the elevation of the world, how the Odom can do it, not how Hashem can do it, how the Odom. So he said, that sort needs a lot of effort on the part of the man. And you can't just jump and all of a sudden be mazachah all your goof and all your nefesh. It takes time. That's got to go on a way to Mr. Slav, achrei slav. אבל אי אפשר לקבוע של השלבים גבוהים יותר, כאשר בספר של דבר הסברה שהאילם לא מסוגל לקבוע את זה. You can't jump to things that you haven't made the world a clean to receive them. Omnom, he said, Yehudi nitna neshama gavoya. However, the truth is that you do have a neshama inside yourself. Shemesugelas lasis avedas milamayla lamata. Mitzad the neshama, I can start off higher, and like we spoke before, the infant child. Abu, he said, Zeh yochel avoy raket toy sefer. Since it, like we said, it's a dover noiso, it's an extra in you. It comes like an addition. The Eikev has to be an Ila Ladoidi, and the Ladoidi limits at the Neshama. Or that's like an extra in it, a much greater form of Aveda, but it's not the basic Eikev. So he said, oh, not sure. Shebetzura Kazais Nitan Lisalis Bachor. So a man might think, well, come to us, that Hashem is demanding of us that we make like less aliyah. If we would go mitzvah the neshama right from the beginning, and the whole time l'chatchila would be reaching more. So there was a behavior. And the truth is exactly the opposite. Davke b'tzura kazais nitan lagia el hakaribohu b'kvoideva atzmai. Since that's the ultimate kavanah, and that's what Hashem wanted, you should go, first of all, in all the details of Aliyah, elevate your goof and your nefesh abamis according to the pace that demands. And then you come to the Nasi's Perah, the Neshama, Be'ikar, Melamayla Lamata, or then you reach a much higher Madrega. And the Rebbe said that Davka Ali Deizer, we bring down Gile Alakushel, a mile Lagami Oilamet, or that's by going. So a man must never think to himself, why should I just go little by little, I should just The Shabbos ticker, what I need to have the Moisach all the cloud. Yeah. So there is a big bucket. That's the whole Eikev of the Aveda. And after by going with that Seder, you will come to the ultimate perfection of Elikut. And therefore, you got to be ready for how do you call it, Masuda Dika Ever. And therefore, it's very important. People sort of get the impression that the Rebbe, particularly in the latter years, that everything was sort of, tremendously high canons that never left any sort of room for the old concept of Aveda, Masidera, and all that sort of thing. So here we see the Rabbi says clearly that all of his arguments, all the things that he presents, don't come to hold of that. Ultimately speaking, you have to be prepared for detailed effort, Melamata Lamaila. Yeah, that's right, yeah. The long and the short way, yeah. That's a whole discussion, but come to us that the Rebbe says no. In order to reach the ultimate height of the Aveda, you have to be prepared to go first off, Masuda, and then you get the Nasina square, Eikev and a Doidili, through your Nishoma, through your own effort, and then you reach the Emasa Gile Elikut. Volohe, says the Rebbe, Onu Seivrim as a Yomim Taki Meayom Rishon Labriaso Elom, Velomi Briaso Odom. The fact that we have to go with a Seder Masuda. So the Rebbe's got another question. The mens was only created at the end of the creation. On Yom Shishi, that's when the mens was created. So if we're interested in the Aveda Sa'odom, then maybe we should start only one day on Yom Shishi and then go straight into Shabbat. So the Rebbe says that we start on Yom Rishon. And the beginning of everything is Yom Rishon. We go Yom Rishon, Yom Sheni, Yom Shlishi, Yom Avi. All that indicates to us that the Ika is to go with us, say the Masuda, Bimavara, everything. And that's got to be done, both Masuda. And then you come to the Ika Aveda of the Ottoman Tzadishmosai, and that's the mile of the Neshama and the Nasina square through the Neshama to be on the level of Shabbat. Amamela, Lasiko, says the Rebbe, let's sum up the whole Inyan. So he says, Yeshnam lefanenu shloisha drochim b'avedus Hashem shofedusha. I've only got two. What does he say? Three? So let's see what they are. Ani l'doidi ha'aveda milamata l'mayla. Aveda ha'mubelas lefi yochel shel ha'olam. Right, we've been learning the whole time. Avayesh b'zeh yisrael shu chayderes b'penimiyah. And why is it chayderes b'penimiyah? Yeah, that's what Hashem wants. That's the, and when you go gradually, and you go one day after the other, and you're all the time elevating your offer, then you might get a kli, and it becomes a kli. And then whatever oil you are amongst enters you in a pneumistic way. So that's like another angle why it's so important. And then we have the second level, is doidili, aveda melamayla lamata, yeah? And that's ainum magbelas. That's not so limited because it's coming beika melamayla derech hanishoma, that the nishoma is achele gelaka, avohi loy chederes kol kakba, since it's coming melamayla, and beika it's nasina square, ruchni mitzad the nishoma, it doesn't affect the world so much. Now why is that? It's a big cloud brought down in cities in many places. That's something that you ever worked on, and something that you haven't, as it were, purified a vessel, it doesn't go in. So even though it's coming from Mila, and it can have a Mila that's less limited because it's coming from Mila, but it's like, a tremendous amount of holy water on a duck's back, to use the expression. It tends to run off a little bit. where there's no real receptacle. But nonetheless, that's a big mile. So the Rebbe says, however, Elo is only when I got everything together. I've got a Nila Toidi, become Doidili, but I got them joined together. And then I get the word Elo. So the Rebbe says, Chibo Shnei Avodas Yachad. I link together both of them. Shagama Avodah Bilti Mugbelas Tachto Bepnimiyas. Oh, Mamela. That's the third level that we haven't spoken about yet. That there's a third level that when I unite the two of them together, and the Eibishter does that, and he gives a special prayer to unite the both of them together, then the Avodah Bilti Mugbelas, which tends, like we said, to run off the bench without entering his Pinim, then that Tufa enters his Pinim. So we get that's what he said before, that ultimately you reach the highest level by going with this whole Seder. Yeah? And that's the yichud of both of the things together. Huh? That's the whole Seder. That's the whole Seder of the Avodah. So the Rebbe said, Im Kain, we started off with the question, what does all this have to do with the Cheshbon and Nefesh in Elba? All this was a lead-up. So the Rebbe said, once we got to know all this, then we'll understand what the Cheshbon and Nefesh of Chodesh Elul is. Keish, Novin Heitev, Keitzet Tzchim Lasois Cheshbon Nefesh b'Chodesh Elul. How does it go? He said, Dover Rishon, Tzorich Ha'odam Lachshoi B'nafshoi, Ad Kama Hu Ovedes Hashem Milmata L'mayla, Kama Ma'amatz Hu Ishkia B'Avodah Zo, Ve'ad Kama Hu Itzliach L'Zacha Itzkufei, Ve'es Ha'olam Shebesvivai. Oh, in other words, it's like the old Chabadski question. You gotta look, how much have you done with yourself? How much have you changed yourself and made yourself worthy? You can't just, go around with all sorts of high ideas. You gotta know how much did you actually alter your awful? How much did you change yourself? And Mamela, how much did you affect the world around you? And then after that, Liacham Mikain, like we said, it's an extra inyan. L'avodazu, l'zachik is a guf ve'oilom, yemikim sheyesh l'gam nishoma elokis, olo l'ashkia mamatz gam b'avoda milmayla l'mata. To bring down, be'ika the koyach of Shabbos malachatchila riba, v'kayim esrotzen avayim mibli lishchashev, no, to do it in even guilty mukbal. Yeah, sometimes you have to be like that. He said, "Ve'ilu v'neisav lacha, all of the dar shegam kashehu mekayim esrotzen nazeh b'shleimer, lalo kol ishchashvet v'hafroish laminayhem, yesh tzorech lahakti azois, גם בגופי ובכל העולם כולי, שגם הם יבצעו את רצון הוויה בשלמה. אבל Mela said to Rabbi, what's the third thing where I unite both of them together? I make it clear in my avodah that even though I'm working no matter l'mayla and I'm trying to affect the world, nonetheless I have the ability to take this lachatchila ariva state that up till now I've only seen to be a dover noisa, extra in it, and to make it not a dover noisa. Over that should become part and parcel of the Avodah and the Oilom that I'm living in. And I'm going to contain that this is like the Kava Shlishi, where I unite the two things together. And I don't know, later on if I'm going to have Koya, I'll maybe mention a story or two that I get to Kaufman Ahamov, but they indicate that's the ultimate perfection of the Avodas HaChabad. The Avodas Chabadska is not only that you you know about higher madrigas, and you reach them to a certain extent with the help of the Eivestad, and by making yourself guilty mukbal. Of the element is that even that becomes united with what you do, and you become like, as it were, one united entity. It's not like I'm a Nivra and there's a Kodesh Baruch that gives me powers, high powers through my neshama. But me and Elakusa, it's all one block, it's all one mixture, and me and completely beyond Hakbala are all one in. And we're going to see that that's the ultimate concept of Mesiras Nefesh. That's the whole idea of Mesiras Nefesh. Because we see that there are two forms or two types of Mesiras Nefesh. One form of Mesiras Nefesh is where a person sees that things are a bit difficult and it demands l'chera to overcome or to help certain situations. Only if we'll go Mesiras Nefesh. If ever he sits down, he looks up in the Shulchan Aruch, and he works out according to the Shulchan Aruch. And the Rambam is, are you really mechuyev to go on Mesiras Nefesh, or are you not? How much? It's brought down in the Rambam B'Mil, it talks about it. Yeah, how much are you required, how much you're not required. But there's another approach, where you don't reckon with anything. And you see that something Al-Pi Torah and Al-Pi Ratzon Hashem is required, you just go L'Chatchila Riva. And that was the Rebbe's father. He didn't sit down and ask questions, how much he should, what, you know. He was just make sure Achad. He was just one in him. He just went L'Chatchila Riva. Anything that could affect Yiddishkeit, he just went there. But he and the Koyach HaBilti Mukbal all become one living entity together. And that's the Emes Inyan of Mesiras Nefesh. And that's the Mesiras Nefesh of the Frierdiker Rebbe. And that's what we see, that he didn't reckon with anything. Yeah. He just kept going, even though he knew they were looking for him. And it was just a question of time before there would be big trouble. And yet nonetheless, by the way, that's very amazing. What did he achieve? He achieved that the Koyach HaBilti Mukbal became real in the world. Or the communist Russia that had these unbelievable chukim and tzoras and everything, all completely broke down. And it said, get him out of here quick. And whatever the Frierdiker Rebbe demanded, they gave him. He said he's not going without his Sforim, so it takes Sforim. He's not going without this, it takes this. And just there ago, I saw in our Sefer Tzemach a Pilat Gazak. The Rebbe left Russia together in the Pamalia and the entourage of the Frierdiker Rebbe. So how does he come here? He's not a family there. He's not a member of the Frierdiker Rebbe's family. You follow? They weren't married yet, he and the Rebbe. So there was a Paki that he was checking off, and he was a smarty, and he saw this the name of the Rebbe, and he said to the Frierdiker Rebbe, you know, who's this? Yeah. So the Frierdiker Rebbe said to him, he's my future son-in-law. So he said, well, it's too bad about that. You have to find a son-in-law once you get to Chutzlah, wherever you got to go. So you'll find a son-in-law for your daughter. You have to take a son-in-law from here. That's what he says. This big knob, this Pakid, that's what he said to Frierdiker. You know what the Frierdiker answered him? He said, I can only take him from here. He said, because another one like this, I'm not going to find anywhere. That's what he said to the guy. Yeah. That's what the Frierdiker Rebbe said to the. And when the guy heard that, he said, oh, okay, and he gave a ticker and said, there was nothing. In other words, when this guy heard the Frierdiker Rebbe say about the Rebbe, that he's not going to find anybody like this anywhere, and he was macabre. So we see that if you go L'Chatchila Riva, the mixture achas, and you go with one It's just the building Mugbal and the Mugbal are all one Indian. It's not a Tova Noizak anymore. It's one Indian. So then, oh, that's it, And so the Rebbe says, oh, that's the Shleimus right there. That's the perfection, of all of Avina. And he said, that's what we're heading for with the Indian Agiula. The Indian Agiula is not just that there's going to be a Hamshocha or the Eikev Elikus of the Avista and the world are going to become one absolute entity. The world is going to be Elikus. It's not that you're going to have a world and then with a bit of Rahman you're going to have Elikus. No, the world and Elikus are all going to be one thing. That's the inner of the Gula Shlema. And that's what we're aiming for. That's the whole inner. So the Rebbe said, he doesn't understand why hasn't that occurred. He said, we've done so much, the political Rebbe. And he said, there's been so much Hafatzas Mayana, referring to his own leadership. What is the problem? So the Rabbi says at the end of the Sikha, an amazing, and he said that has to be the Chesed Tzedek. The Chesed Tzedek has to be, how much are you doing to make this a reality? That you're making the world and Elikus all one thing. So the Rebbe said, Moshiach said to the Baal Shem Tov, what's the answer? He said, because your Putza Mind Socha Putza. When Teres Achsidus will spread out through the whole world. So the Rebbe said, it's been spread out through the whole world. He doesn't know of a country where there's something to do with Chassidus or some sort of a Beit Chabad or somebody is not teaching a bit of Chassidus somewhere. So what is the whole? So the Rebbe said that it occurred to him, there's a group of people called Ivrim, blind people, that maybe they haven't been exposed. And yet they have a way of also learning through Braille, what's called Braille. So the Rebbe said that he suggests that maybe one of the big final necessities that is required, that they must print now all the Chassidus in Braille, not just the Tanya, but other Sforim and everything, in Braille, and spread it all around in different countries, wherever there's an institute for blind people, and it's known that there are Yidden there, and it doesn't matter even if some Goyim will look into it, it's not going to do any harm. Because the country, in the light of the whole Indian of the Sheva Mitzvahs, but it can't do any harm if Goyim will learn it also. At Kedekah, the Rebbe was worried about the whole world. And he said, that should help us that we're going to be holding and seeing and living and meeting up with the Rebbe in the Gula, Mitzvah Bashleima, taking me out, man.
Amen.
Siva v'chasimato, shanato v'suka. Siva v'chasimato, shanato v'suka. Siva v'chasimato, shanato v'suka. Siva v'chasimato, Shana
He's not the same. If you're in a hurry,
You can be in a hurry.
you don't have to stay because of me.
Oh, I've got a bus to catch.
Huh?
I've got a bus to catch. A bus. Thank you for coming. Shabbos. Oh, special night. Buddha. על ברוכס. המשך רחוק. בסדר?
Amen.
Amen.
ברוך אתה
Rishita, the heel of the Shammai, they're not opposites. They're not, in Shammai, worried about every day. The Hillel were only worried before Shabbos. With Shammai, they're called Mashiach.
Shammai is in front of the
It's a foot, no?
Yeah. טוב, יש קצת להרי וזהו, let's see, I'm going to so listen, the fact that we was out during the week to Kochman at Hamol. I want to tell a little story a moral that, as it were, comes out of the story. And I think it's very fitting to what we learned tonight in the whole message. And that is why we saw that the ultimate in the Mesilas Nefesh, that where the man doesn't see Gila Elokus, but take Kupe, but take Chayo, also Dover Noisa, beautiful addition in his life. But he and Elokus and everything connected with Rosh and Hashem, they all become one state, one mixture of it. And that's like this. many years ago, when I was still living in the neighborhood, and I didn't have any dream of coming to live in Tsfat many years ago. As there was a very well-known chassid who he after he got out of Russia, he lived in England, and he was the father-in-law of Rabbi Tzedek, who was the leader of Lubavitch, Ben Shem Tov, his name, Rabbi Shem Tov. He was an amazing figure, and he was devoted tremendously to the Rebbe's one, and he was from the old sitting that they held by a Weda and everything. He was into it. So wherever he came to a shul for a visit, he would bring with the ulama to daven, but he would be before daven. So he wouldn't be able to eat a whole lot of the kiddush. He would just make kiddush, or be yaitz with kiddush, and he would say the chaim a bit, he would be toyam a little bit, just for the sake of it, but he would bring it all along was necessary. And then when people started to leave, he would begin davening. So he would finish davening quite late in the afternoon, particularly if it was like summertime like we have now. So one Shabbos he was in Bnei Brak. This is years and years ago. At Ben Shem Tov. So I happened to daven in the shul where he davened. There were already two Chabad shul. Normally I davened in the old Chabad shul. I would have missed it because he davened in the so-called new one. But for some reason I went, not because I knew he was getting finally 4:10. He knocked on the door and he came. I explained to him I had to leave because my wife wanted to tell about it. He was coming. And so we waited, especially with the chum. We had a bit of fish, but we didn't eat the so-called Eikev part of the meal till he would come. So he comes in, the bench, we give a good Shabbos, and he wishes everybody a bracha and everything. Then we prepared him to challah. He said he doesn't eat that. So we said, there's only challah. So Yiddish challah, Shabbos challah. He said he only washes on matzah. It can be even the ordinary, machine matzah, but he only washes on matzah. Because the challah is a bit sort of heavy and makes him sleepy and drowsy. And he doesn't want to get sleepy and drowsy. So okay, we found him, and he washed on the matzah. He had some fish, a little bit of salad. And then we said, well, now we're going to dish up the chum. He said, I normally don't eat very much chum. So he said, what's eating? He said, it makes me dreamy, it makes me sleepy. I don't want to have any punished kachon. So we said, we waited especially, and we kept the whole pot. So he said, good, 2 spoonfuls, 2 spoonfuls on my plate. I'm prepared to have it. That's great. Thank you for all that. No, sir, he was very thankful. And if I'm not mistaken, after he finished the fish, he sang a Saddle Sadasa. The pier of the Arizona. Anyway, we get to the chon and everything. So he said, a Shabbos tikatish, zon Dvar. Oh, I know what it was. It was Shabbos Parshas. It was this Shabbos. Yeah. The Shabbos Parshas. So he said, but that was only a Dvar. I said, well, we're waiting, and he said, I wanted your Freud should also hear it, you know. So I said, she's a little bit Tsfat in Yiddish. So he said, oh, okay, I'll try and Lashon Kodesh. So he said a little bit in like Lashon Kodesh. So what did he say? And his Dvar was like this. It's Mamish, a pillar plus. What did he say? He said like this, that Rashi brings at the beginning of Rabbi, that Moshe Rabbeinu, after he came down through the luchas away, and they broke, he picked up the broken luchas, and he didn't have where to put them. So the Eibishter said to Moshe Rabbeinu that you should make Oren 8, and you should come up onto the mountain. I'll give you Shnei luchas of bread. So Rashi writes that there was a separate Oren. There were two Oren. If you look in Rashi says there were two Orenas. There was the Oren Shosha B'Tzalel. That's where they put the luchas and everything. That was beautiful. It was made out of gold. And the Tachas Ayoifi. And then there was this other Oren. And after Moshe Rabbeinu came down, and B'Tzalel made the Oren, luchas, sneers went in there. Moshe Rabbeinu put the shivrei luchas inside this Parshas. So according to Rashi, there was always two separate Oren. There was an Oren that had Natal, the shivrei luchas, and there was the Oren also B'Tzalel. And then the Rashi adds to that, and Rashi said when they went out to war, they used to take the Oren Abrit, but they didn't take the Oren Shosha B'Tzalel. When they went out to war, they used to take the Oren Parshas, made out of 8 Parshas, but took a shivrei halucha, not luchas. That's what Rashi said. And then Rashi adds, and he says, Pam Achas, Yoter Oren Shosha B'Tzalel L'Melchama, V'Nishbo. And it was immediately captured by the Plishtim. Wow. You follow? There was a whole trouble to get it back. That's what Rashi finishes by saying, Pam Achas, Yoter Oren Shosha B'Tzalel, and it was captured. A whole problem to get it back. But normally they took the Oren Parshas, 8, with the shivrei luchas. That's what they took out of the So, you know what he said to Benji? He said like this. He said, the Oren, Parshas the Oren, what does it about it? He said, what about his nistep, you know, you don't see on the outside, you know, all and you do it over there, that's madness is Eikev. But he said, B'fnim, yes, it's called a Pnim. He said, that's the Oren. He said, the Chsidei Lubavitch, the Chsidei Mother Rabbi, the Oren, she also Moshe Rabbeinu, who Oren, Parshas Oren Shalei. And he said, what's inside it? Shivrei luchas. Oh, shivrei luchas. He said, of course, you know, even with all his Idurim and all his Inyonim, he's got a broken heart. He knows that he's gone. You know, he knows that he's a long way from carrying out the Gafne, and he knows the whole thing. So he's got inside him, shivrei luchas. ובדווקא כזה הולך למלחמה, וזה מנתיה, נכון? He said, דווקא the Chassidim, the Parshas with the broken heart, and they don't hold themselves to be a big Messiah. They go out and they win the war. Pam Achas, they took the Oren Shosha B'Tzalel, a golden Oren, a beautiful Oren. What should be better with guns and luchas? And the whole Lugas inside. Beneath board was captured. Rashi said there's a simmer that if you're supposed to be Yovi, you have to be Yovi, but if you want, the Yovi should be noticeable, and it should be outside Yovi as well as a Panimis to be Yovi, then you have to stay in the Panimis. You've got to be inside the Mishkan. But if you go outside, it's a bit of a problem. But if you're a Chabadska, then on the contrary, you've got to go outside. That's your whole Inyan. And you're Elikot, or in Parshas, you're only made of 8, and you're a Parshas or and you don't have any gold, and you got Shibri Lucas. So I remember he said to me, he looked at my wife, and he said, "Does Libavich?" That's the way they used to draw it. They said, Elder Russisch said him. He used to say, Libavich. Libavich. He said, "Does Libavich?" He said, "Miss Parshas on to Brochen Lucas." And he said, "Go to result, but that wins the war." So I'm sitting at the table, and I'm listening to this, and my eyes are gradually getting further out on stalls, And you can't use a computer on Shabbos, but my computer was working at high speed, and every word was going in, as I was quailing, so in there, the Pneumias. And he said, as in Unzer 11, we have to be soldiers, we're going to be prepared to go out, and we're going to know that we're basically Gorners. And it's not our Koyah, it's the Koyah of the Rabbi. He said it's not two separate Matthiasm. It's not that the Rebbe is one thing and the Siddur is something else. But the Siddur are like pieces of the Rebbe. He said they're like the hand of the Rebbe. It's also the Rebbe. Or the feast, but you're also the Rebbe. Adkan Asipa Hazeh. So you know what happened after that? After that, when he finished, it was already getting pretty late in the afternoon. So he said that, Medavke and Mincha, but Medavke Bezufton, we're here in Bnei Brak, it does they feel good to Yidden, all sorts of Polish and others. Medavke was Ufton of Zach. So I said, all right, I'll go with you. And we'll stop by a shul, and we'll try our luck, we'll go and we'll see what happens. So we go down, all of a sudden I see in Rehov Svasemas, in those days, there was a big Breslov shul. Nowadays it's somewhere else, and it's much bigger, but that was where they had their shul Breslov. I said, you know what, Rabbi, long and I can't do it. So he said, who is it? I said, Breslov. Why not? So we go in, and all of a sudden he says to one of the people in the shul there, they're all, davening with sitting by some table or something. They say, I don't know what they were doing. They hadn't done mincha yet. So all of a sudden, Rabbi says to one of them, he said, where is the Gabbai door? Who's the Gabbai? So they're sort of, they point at. The Rabbi goes over to the Gabbai and he says, Noch Mincha do was tutman. What do people do here after Mincha? So he said, my Vasa, Tishal Sudas, Zinktom, and Guniam, and Aduas, and Ayen, and some stuff, Daman Mamari. So he said, Benzi, with your permission, it's going to be a bit different. He says, after Mincha, he said, with your permission, come on, you're the Gabbai, I'm going to give over Dvar to and for everybody here in the shop. So you know what he says to him, the Gabbai? He said, from whom is the Dvar Torah? From whom is the Dvar Torah? That's what he says to him. So he said, from whom? He said, from the Lubavitcher. He was honest. He said, from the Heilige Lubavitcher Rabbi. So the guy sort of thought it over from India. He sort of, he said, good, yeah, Kenya, I say that. So you would never believe it. You have this whole big table of these persons over there, strong malls. It was quite a big show, but nowadays they've got a much bigger one. And he got revenge. He's sitting there, you know, these persons are still talking, these slapper, you know. And he really started going, you know, something from the Parshas Eikev, you know, from the Rabbi, you know. And then he finished by saying, Yidden, we have to know that the world's got a manhig, and the manhig is the Rabbi Tzedek, on air, field devel, Tzedek Shleimer, he didn't say the Rabbi is Moshe. He said the Rabbi is conducting the world to the Gula Shleimer, and this is the Derech HaBatur Beyoter. And in the meantime, and he was married, you know, he didn't just sort of say a couple of words and then run away, you know. In the meantime, it's getting late, you know, it's getting dark. Oh, but they were all listening. And nobody said to him, listen here, this is not our Derek, this is not our Mina. Because he meant it so much, be'emet. And that's what I want to bring out the point. He was making the point with that whole marshal of the orange made out of eights and the whole simplicity of the shivrei and everything, that the real Mesiras Nefesh, you know, where you are one thing and what you're selling is another thing. No, you and what you're selling are the same entity, Mami. It's all one mixture achas. There's no questions, you know. I look up in Shulchan Aruch, the Rambam, am I mechuyim b'Mesiras Nefesh? Not mechuyim, ain't shalach. Right, pshita. So these people, these guys, they were sensitive people. They picked up in Ben Shishemta. They could feel in him this, and therefore they were all. So all of a sudden, Ben says, he said to the Gabbai, he said, excuse me, but I'm going to act like a misnagid for a few minutes. So he said, how could you act like a misnagid? So he said, I've finished saying mine. He said, it's Eikev. He said, I'm going away. He said, I want to Dvar in Marshall. I get a bit mixed up with the Nosach, and ich will davon mal beim meiner jeden. Ich will mir ich said, ich habe gesagt, meint, mich nachgesagt, eins und geht weg. That's what he said to these guys. It says his speech and then he goes home. That's what I'm doing. So the guy said, you're a very, very kosher of Mishnah plans. That's what he said to say. Gesundheit. He said, Rabbi, he didn't eat the bench because he hadn't washed. He'd had basically in 2 members was maybe maximum he made a bracha for him. And the next thing is I'm running out to him. He was older than me and he suffered from his feet. You know, he had these big orthopedic heavy boots on. He suffered. And I'm running after him, he got moving. And he knew the street where the Lubavitch sure was. And we got there just when they were saying, well, who wrote home? Just because the guy who chazed the Maimah had been a bit married. You know, the person who had said the Maimah wasn't just a little short Maimah, that held everything up. So we got this for who wrote home. We got married, and that was the whole thing. Of Amelan, what I want to show you, the way it was put into the neshamas that he's got. And that word about the 2 arenas, the Ramban differs, and the Ramban says all the same order. That when Moshe Rabbeinu came down, he took temporarily the broken locusts out, and he made that the oren, and that was the oren, he covered it with gold, or patal, and that was the oren. And in that they put the Gemara, in the Sekta Bava Basra, said that there were 2 sets of locusts inside the oren. That's how our Gemara holds. And what Rashi quotes is really a Sifri. So the Ramban says, you know, we have to go according to our Gemara, not a Sifri. So the answer is that Rashi had to get that message over. So in order to get that message over, he had to go for a Sifri, a fellow, you know, become a Gemara. But he had to take the guy at the chance, because that's the image, how it is, with the way to say, oh, no, media, but they're hoiling, that's the way it has to be. So I remember, and that Shabbos is printed in my memory in his book, yeah. And if you ask my wife, she said, she was, it had a big effect on her, and he ate a few pieces of matzah and a bit of fish, and we offered him a glass tea that day. He said, oh, a glass tea, a cup of tea, he'll drink, that's it, glass tea, and 2 spoonfuls of chocolate. But he wouldn't have had that either if he wanted to be 18 either.
He's a brother-in-law with Mendel Futetas, right? He's a brother-in-law with Mendel Futetas.
Kept time.
His brother-in-law.
Yeah. And they say that that's the reason why the Rebbe didn't eat chom. The Rebbe flicked necessity chom. The Rebbe Gatins don't took chom. For the same reason, because the Rebbe didn't want anything that would make him sleepy. But even in the weekdays, anything that was Yedua, that has an effect on a person, makes him a bit, the Rebbe never touched it, ever. Yedua. The Rebbe avoided any food that might have
We're missing the story of Levi Yitzchak Schneerson. We're missing a story from Levi Yitzchak Schneerson.
That's Rebbe's father.
Oh yeah, about the talis.
Story.
Yeah. Oh, so that's what has reminded me. That's what I want to bring out about the Rebbe's father. It wasn't that the Rebbe's father, had he was a big pocky in Rambam and in Shulchan Aruch. It wasn't that the Rebbe's father had a shaila, easy mechuyev in Mesilas Nefesh, or maybe he can retire and hide somewhere, or maybe he can avoid all the trouble. What does he need all the trouble for? And we see that just with an absolute peshita, he went. And therefore, I'll tell you a story, what I heard from Rabbi Nachum. And just by the way, I saw in our Sefer, there's an English Sefer which is called Early Years. It's all about the Rebbe's boyhood and his early years. It's amazing, my eyes just jump out on the stalk. And these guys have put in a tremendous amount of work. They've been koiled from all sorts of makoilas. If a kid it's a book this thick, tremendously powerful. Now, I just saw one little bit of what did I see? When the Rebbe was born, until he was about 6 or 7 years old, they lived in a certain house in Yekaterinburg. It was like on a ground floor. And they were, Rabbi Levi and his wife and his children were in one dira, and the dira on the other side of the house was people that they were Yidden, but they weren't necessarily from 100%. They were a bit like more towards Zionism and all that sort of stuff. But they had tremendous respect for Tzedek and for Tzedek. And so they bring there a little letter that this shaman told, that she wasn't really a Puma Yidna, She wasn't a fully fledged Puma Yidna. She wrote about Reb Levi and the Rebbe Tzemach, the Rebbe's mother. She wrote that the Rebbe Reb Levi and his wife were a king and a queen. She doesn't write they're like a king and a queen, or they were, or they acted. She wrote they were king and queen of the whole town. That's what she wrote, this neighbor. And she writes that the hall between the two houses could have been like a place where, each one was sort of hiding from the other, and, sometimes it leads to quarrel. But she said the hall was like a hall of paradise, Gan Eden. She writes in Russian, whatever, paradise, Gan Eden or whatever. And she writes that there was always like a Siddish Negan coming from Reb Levi or from his son. And there was always something, and she said it was like, she pictured to her mind that if souls do have Gan Eden, probably this passageway is like one of the passageways that lead to it. That's what she writes. This woman, she's not even a Chiddush HaTov to him. Yeah, and that's what she writes. And she writes that Rabbi Levi and his wife were the king and queen of Yaakov. She didn't write, well, I could queen. That's what she wrote. And it's brought there in a later page that there were other people who said about Rabbi Levi that when you were in his presence, even though he didn't try to be like that, you felt like a certain royalty. You felt a certain, like, you just had to be, sort of bottle like a subject to somebody who's his kin, something very special. That's what they bring there later on, another quote. And so I heard from Reb Noham that he was mamish like that, Reb Levi. And yet, on the other hand, he did not ever act in a way of Havdalah from Hashem. He was always tremendously kind and thoughtful to others. And like the story I told you once, he wouldn't let Reb Noham carry his but then because he saw her, he was upset by it. He gave him the toughest to carry in it, but he was very, very tremendously sensitively kind to others, and yet he was moved at the same. And Reb Noham said you could sense that very much. And yet when it came to the Mesiras Nefesh, he never asked any questions. He just went into the lion's mouth, and he knew he was going into the lion's mouth. But nonetheless, he but that's we're learning. It's got to become like one. It's one unity and one mixture of us, the Elikus and the group of the Odom. The Chaim guys.
Silver Simetayva, gut Jahr gewünscht, Silver Simetayva. Gut gewünschte Chodesh, gut gewünschte Jahr, Silver Simetayva, Lashon Teva Mesukah.
Silver Simetayva, Kol Klal Yisrael, Beis Hashem, should be Olam Al Me'eloi Nivra, and the Tachlis Kol Olam, the Gol Imam is take me up. Amen. This thing goes crazy on Thursday. Snake goes really crazy on Thursday.